What's up, guys? We're starting off our off-season content on the channel. I'm going to be doing a mock draft today, an NFL-wide mock draft. I still haven't done my mock draft. This is not 1.0. This is just a kind of a sample, kind of to get us started here. With the NFL draft content. This one I'm not going to be putting huge thought into it. It's kind of going to be on the fly. And then shortly I'll have my Giants 7-round mock and I'll have the NFL wide first round mock. But I am being joined by a special guest here today. And we're going to be breaking down each pick we make. And yeah, that's pretty much all we're going to be doing here. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, happy to be here and ready to get this going.
All right. So of course, a big, switch up at the top of the draft this year with, of course, the Bears and the Panthers making that big time trade. Of course, the Bears traded out. They traded back to number 9 and the Panthers coming in up to 1. So they have their choice right now at quarterback. And that's going to be a big, thing for them because this is the biggest decision that franchise has had to make in probably 10 years, maybe more. It's a huge decision here for the Carolina Panthers. This is how you start your team with the quarterback, and they have their choice. Really, out of, I would say, 4 big name guys, I think 4 really solid options: CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and Will Levis. Personally, it's a little spoiler here to the first pick, but I think they're kind of honing in on Stroud. Yeah, I mean, you see how they're showing up with so many guys and so many members of the coaching staff in the front office to the Ohio State Pro Days. That kind of shows that they're zeroing in here on CJ Stroud. Now, maybe he does not impress them. Maybe he, shows them things that make them not want to draft him. But, overall, I really do think that's the overall. I think he's going to be the number 1 pick. Do I think he's going to be the best quarterback? It all depends what happens, the situation. But I think in a bad division over in the NFC South with a couple decent weapons, I think that quarterback could he could really succeed, compared to teams like the Texans, who are picking number 2, or a team like, I think the Colts are a good situation too. Good O-line, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. It's definitely interesting. And then I think Seattle ultimately, it's possible they take a quarterback. They did just sign Geno Smith, but it is possible they take a quarterback for the future and they kind of let them sit behind Geno Smith, maybe trade Geno Smith after a year, get, something for him. It'll be interesting to see, but without further ado, let's get this going. I'm going to share the screen. Let's see if we can get this going here. Let's go. I've never used what I'm about to use, NFL Mock Draft Database. I've never used that. I usually use PFF or PFN. So let's try this. It's a new one. I've done some Giants, like just for my own personal good. I've done a couple Giants 7-round mocks just to kind of look at the prospects and all that, and I've used this year, and I kind of do like it. So we'll see how it goes. It's just loading up here, and then I will share the screen. All right, let's do it. All right, guys. So here we go. This is what we're going to use. 1 round. Here we go. All right. With the first pick, I think we all agree. CJ Stroud, number 1.
I think we agree Stroud number 1. Do I think he's going to be the best quarterback to come out of this class? Maybe, maybe not. But from what it sounds like, with all the talks he's had with Carolina, I do think he will go number 1.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the only reason I think Bryce Young dropped to the second best quarterback,
size, and he also
I think it's size. I think it's only size, and
he also didn't participate in the combine.
I don't think that has a huge thing because even before the combine, we kind of heard of some talks
The
about
only thing
Stroud.
that makes me like when you look at Anthony Richardson in the combine, look how much his stock went up.
Yeah,
right. Something like that could change your stock, and you know the scouts see him as a small quarterback. I think he was listed at 5'11" or 6 feet. And when you see that and you see who, some of the best quarterbacks are in the league today, they're all at least 6'2", 6'3", big mobile guys. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think Stroud will go first.
And then number 2 to the Texans, I think Bryce Young out of Alabama. I think that's, I think at this point, I don't think they have a choice but to go with a quarterback. Now, maybe they're not too super high on Bryce Young. I don't see it playing out this way, but I think it's possible because they have the 12th pick. And if they really like Will Anderson or they really like Christian Gonzalez or, one of these other non-quarterbacks, maybe they take them at 2 and they trade up from 12. They move up to maybe Seattle's pick at 5 where they know that they'll get one of the – it just depends where they kind of rank their quarterbacks. Now, Bryce Young is in their – on their draft board, if his stock is even with a guy like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, maybe they entertain that. But if Bryce Young is the guy they think can take them to where they want to get to, they're going to take him here at number 2 and they won't think twice.
Yeah, to me, I think the Texans, you take a quarterback here, whether they trade back or not. To me, the elite quarterbacks that I see, I'd say Stroud, Young, and Richardson at 3rd, maybe. But to me, Levis is not even in the top 3. He'll be a good quarterback, but not in the top 3. He's not better than those 3 guys. So I think if you're the Texans, you take Bryce Young here. Part of me almost wants to say Richardson just because he's a big physical quarterback. I know that's what the Texans like. So either way, Bryce Young, Richardson, I think you take a quarterback here and secure your guy.
Now, number 3.
3 is where it gets.
I think this is where the quarterback doesn't get chosen unless there's a trade up. But I don't see it happening, and we're gonna do this without trades just to keep it easy.
For me, I don't see the Cardinals moving on from Kyler Murray. He just got the new coach.
Yeah, got a new contract recently.
Just got a new contract. I think they're gonna roll with him. I think
Will Anderson, they need an edge.
Yeah,
it's their number 1 need here, according to
he's
this database.
The top defensive prospect here. I think you can't pass up on that. You have your quarterback. I think Kyler's a great quarterback.
It's back. So it's back-to-back Alabama players, 2 and 3.
Back-to-back 2 and 3.
And now I think the Colts go quarterback. It's just a matter of whether it's Richardson or Will Levis. What do you see here?
If it were up to me, I would go Richardson. I'm more sold on him.
I agree.
Levis.
I agree.
Levis is kind of giving me Zach Wilson vibes. White quarterback, good combine, but when he, I don't know. We'll see. If it was up to me, I think Richardson is the more talented prospect, and I would love to see him go to the Colts here. Good situation.
Yeah, he could really succeed here.
I think any quarterback. Hopefully, they pick a quarterback. Any quarterback that they take. The Colts take will have a good foundation to start.
All right, so Richardson at 4, I think that's a good pick as well. Now 5 is where it gets interesting. I don't know. I really don't.
Defense. I don't think they're going quarterback here.
I don't think they are either. But
I don't see it.
At the same time, where does the quarterback end up getting selected? Because it wouldn't be at 6 to Detroit. Would it? if Christian Gonzalez is there, I can't see a way that the Lions pass up on that. Just the way that they built that secondary up, and they're going to be a contender in the NFC this year. I really do think. I think they're at the very least a playoff team. Their division got a lot worse, and then of course in Vegas, I don't. They just spent that money on Garoppolo. Now maybe they do what people think Seattle might do: let a quarterback sit under Garoppolo, but I could see it, but not that being Will Levis. I think he is, I don't think he's the guy to kind of get groomed up by Jimmy G. I think he needs a really good coach, with a really good mentor. I just don't see Vegas being the place for him. I don't know what Seattle does here. Maybe it's a trade, but like we said for this mock, we're not going to do trades. And even if it is trades, I mean, who's making the trade? I mean, Washington could be that team, but they would have to trade up 11 spots. That would be a big haul. Of course, maybe the Titans, but I don't really see it.
I don't see a trade here. If I'm the Seahawks here, I'm looking at two guys. Maybe it might be controversial, but Jalen Carter,
yeah,
I think
I agree.
You might have to take a chance on him. Such a talented prospect. And if you don't want to take Jalen Carter, you don't want to take that risk. I think Tyree Wilson might be your guy. Good edge rusher out of Texas Tech. I think you're looking at someone on the defensive side of the ball here. You have Geno Smith.
Their offense isn't bad.
Their offense is
really
good.
isn't.
Lockett, Metcalf. Your offense is good enough. So I mean, you have Tariq Woolen in your secondary. Beef up that.
They just added Julian Love.
D-line. I think you go one of those two guys. Personally, I'd take the gamble on Jalen Carter. I think.
Well, let's go with the bigger. Let's go with the bigger need for them, which is the edge. That's the number one need. So we will take Tyree Wilson.
Yeah.
Now, the Lions, like I said, I don't think they pass up on Gonzalez. I think they go that there. I think it's pretty simple. He is far and away the best cornerback of this draft class. From a talent standpoint, it is ridiculous. The guy, I mean, just his physical ability, he's really good out of Oregon. I think he is by far the number one corner of this class, and I don't think the Lions pass up on him there. I think he's a good player as well, yeah. But I do like Gonzalez better.
I like Gonzalez. He's my favorite corner in this draft. I think if you're the Lions, there was talks of Jalen Ramsey going to the Lions. That didn't happen. That defense might have been the worst in the league last year, if not bottom 3. So I think that'll be a good ad for them. Add a good, top corner. I think that fits their needs perfectly.
Yep. And now I think with Vegas, I think they go Witherspoon here. I really do. I think that
to be either or.
I think Witherspoon.
Either or. I like Gonzalez better, but
no, for Vegas.
No, but I'm just saying both good.
Yeah,
players.
Yeah, Witherspoon out of Illinois, his stock really came up, and that's where I think they go here. Now Atlanta, this is the other team I could see them select a quarterback, but they did just get Ritter, so I think they test it out with him one more year. If they really suck, they have a shot. They have a shot at Williams, right? They do like selecting Georgia guys because they kind of get to stay in the state. And I think they select Jalen Carter. He's the second biggest need according to NFL mock draft database. I think they keep Jalen Carter in Georgia and they draft him.
You're taking a gamble on him. I think he's too good of a prospect to not be a top 7, top 10 pick. Like I'm taking that gamble all day long. If I'm the Falcons, if I'm anyone in top 10 here.
Yep. And then I don't think that the Bears have much of a choice. You're building up your team. You're spending a lot of money. You have to protect Justin Fields. Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. He is the best tackle in this draft. He's the best offensive lineman. I think they have to go with Paris Johnson.
You can make a case Skoronski, but I think Paris Johnson. I'd go if I was the Bear. That
Can't go wrong.
You're fitting the needs here. As much as there's still a lot of talent up there. You got to fit those needs.
Mm-hmm. Now the Eagles at 10. Could we see Bijan? I think it's out of Bijan Robinson, Joey Porter Jr. What do you think?
I think, as much as running backs don't go too high, if you're the Eagles, you just got rid of Sanders. Bijan Robinson would be scary behind that O-line.
He would.
Very scary behind that O-line. I think he's going to come into the league if he playing behind the best O-line in football. He'll he could put up some
I would hate this.
Ridiculous numbers.
I would really hate this.
As a Giants fan, I would not be too happy here, but I'm not saying he's a McCaffrey type of talent here, but with all the hype around him, put him behind that Eagles O-line, I think he'll have a tremendous.
I hope he doesn't go within the division, but we'll go Bijan Robinson.
We'll go Bijan. You can't pass up on that.
Now, here it gets interesting at the Titans pick because this is where I could potentially see Will Levis go. I mean, if it's not here, it's Washington, and I don't see him slip into 16. I just can't see it happening.
No, I would go Levis here. You're not gonna.
Tannehill is not. Tannehill is not the guy. Malik Willis.
I really haven't seen enough.
And at least you could have. But again, do they even carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster?
I think Tannehill probably gets moved.
And they go with a second year and a rookie?
I think so. I think that team, Derrick Henry might be gone. I don't know. We'll see. But I think Levis goes here. He's still a good quarterback.
I can't see him getting to 11 personally. I think with trades he would go earlier.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this mock without trades, we'll just put that there. Now, back to the Texans. I think they addressed the defensive side of the ball. And Myles Murphy, I don't know how he's fallen this far back. The edge rusher out of Clemson, but he is a stud, and I think that's where they go here with this pick. They need an edge rusher. They needed a quarterback. I think they addressed their top 2 needs in the on their roster in this NFL draft, coming from 2 really good schools, Clemson, Alabama. I think they go Myles Murphy.
I agree. They do need to address that side of the ball. Part of me almost says receiver, though. You got rid of Brandon Cooks. Who's catching the ball?
Who's
catching the ball?
They spent a premium pick on Nico Collins a couple years ago, but I mean,
see Quentin Johnson here.
I could see it happening, but I still think
Jordan Addison's stock went up a lot. I don't know. I'm torn here.
I mean, going back to the Texans, I mean, wide receiver on their depth chart is 8th. I mean, I don't know how that's possible. I think you could get some good value in the early second round of this draft, which is why, I mean, looking at the Texans picks, they have the second pick the 33rd. That's like in a normal year. That's the first pick. That's the first pick of the second round, right? So I think that's where you could. I mean, looking at the wide receivers, you think 4 go in the top, 3 or 4 go in the first round. Yeah. Even if you want to trade up to get your guy, you could do that. Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee is a really good player as well. So I think they kind of hold off on the wide receivers because of how deep of a wide receiver class it is. Yeah, but I think they hold up. And then for the Jets now, this is where it gets interesting because we have no clue right now. And you got to think by the draft we'll have a clue. But right now we have no clue what their football team looks like. I think OBJ, I can't see him going to the Jets. I think he is going to the Chiefs. I really do. And at this point in time right now, they have Garrett Wilson. They have Allen Lazard. I think they hold off at wide receiver. I think they touch up that O-line. I think they go Skronsky out of Northwestern.
Smart move for the Jets.
Keep Rodgers protected, and then Rodgers isn't the long-term answer at quarterback, but at least you have Mekhi Becton and Skronsky for your franchise QB once that time comes, whether that's Zach Wilson or whoever else you bring in.
Rodgers has been protected his whole career. I think I think the Jets are pretty solid everywhere else. Good receivers, good defense.
Yeah. And
Very
now
good defense. I think you protect Rodgers. Go get the second best offensive lineman in this class.
And now this is where I think the bearing a trade for someone to jump them to take the wide receiver of their choice. 14 is where I see the first wide receiver of this draft selected. Now it's just about fit. I think it's either Quinn Johnson or Smith-Njigba, but I don't know who I would go with. I would probably go with Quentin Johnson, big tall guy out of TSU. I think that's a good pick for the Patriots there at 14.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll see our first wide receiver taken here. If I had to pick out of the pool, I'd say Quentin Johnson. I think
I agree.
Big 6'4" receiver out of TCU.
I agree.
That's my pick.
Now here with the Packers, do they get Jordan Love a weapon because they really don't have much, or do they go to the defensive side of the football here? Lucas Van Ness is a good player. He's really climbing up draft boards out of Iowa. Or do they go with Jackson Smith-Njigba?
I don't know. Part of me wants to say get a defensive player. Part of me wants to say you got rid of Lazard. Okay, how do we fill that spot? We know the Packers aren't looking to
win this year.
You got rid
it's
of
about
Rodgers,
building.
Got rid of Lazard. You're about building, right? So
I think Van Ness is the pick.
I think, yeah. It's tough to say. I think
because think about wide receivers. You could be a Super Bowl team and add a wide receiver, and that guy comes in and is 1,000-yard wide receiver. For an edge rusher, they kind of need more time to develop into the NFL. That's why I think you give it a little bit more time, and you could find, once you're a contender, you could find that wide receiver later.
fit the timeline.
Yeah. So I think you go Lucas Van Ness here.
Yeah.
And now the Commanders, I don't think they have a choice but to go with a cornerback. If Joey Porter's there, they have to go with Joey Porter out of Penn State. He is really good. He fell down the draft boards, and if he makes it to 16, Washington, I can't see a way in which they pass up on him.
Yeah, I agree. That's the need.
And now for the Steelers, I mean, this is a tough pick because kind of where they're picking, if you look at their top three needs, you got to go pretty far to find that. You got to go all the way to Brian Breesy, who I think is terrific. But that's where you got to go to find that. And I mean, he really fell down. I could see it, but they also need help on that O-line, right?
I was going to say an O-line.
Broderick Jones out of Georgia is really good. They need to protect Kenny Pickett if he's their guy. I think that's the pick there for the Steelers at 17.
I think you have Najee Harris. You got good receivers, Pickens, Fitzpatrick in your secondary, good overall defense. I think beef up that O-line, help out your quarterback.
Yeah. Now for the Lions, we already saw them, add to that defense once. I do believe that they're going to go one offensive pick, one defensive pick.
I like a receiver here.
But I do like Michael Mayer, the tight end. They traded Hawkinson.
Sure.
They're looking for, they could be looking for a tight end. He is a sensational.
Big body.
He's a big guy. I could really see that here. Could they go two defensive picks? Absolutely. I mean, they need an edge rusher. But
I think they go offensive.
They have added a lot to that defense here in this offseason. I think now it's time to address the offense, right? They lost Jamal Williams, but they did add Montgomery. They have it is good. They have Swift. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is Goff the guy? We don't know yet. I don't think he is, but I still think they try to build around that. I think they go Michael Mayer, the tight end, and I think he's the first tight end off the board.
I'm looking at Addison. I'm looking at Zay Flowers. But for this sake, I think we'll go tight end.
Yep. And then Tampa, they could go all sorts of ways here. It's really interesting because they could trade Mike Evans. I don't think that's off the table. And if they do, maybe they go with the wide receiver.
I don't know the direction of this team at this point. You have Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Still a very, I think they're a good team. Good defense, good receivers. It's tough to say what this team, might look like in a few months or in the near future here. So I don't know. What are you thinking for this pick?
For here, it's tough to say. I do think they go Nolan Smith. I think he's really good. I think he is better than his projection. They need an edge rusher. I think they go Nolan Smith out of Georgia. Solid player.
If I had to say they needed something, I'd say probably an edge rush or someone on that D line.
You can't go wrong with any defensive player from Georgia. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, like Georgia defense was unreal this year. I think anyone on that defense is going to be an impact player in the league.
Yeah. Now for the Seahawks, it says that their second biggest needs a wide receiver. I completely disagree with that. They have Metcalf, they have Lockett. They have a few young guys. I don't see them addressing, with how deep this defense is in their, especially like defensive linemen is in this draft class. I don't see them touching their offense in the first round. They could really beef up that D-line. And if they go Brian Breesy here after Tyree Wilson, that's a scary looking defensive line. Adding to what they already have. I think that's the route that they go here. They take the defensive lineman out of Clemson.
Yeah, I agree. I think that offense is good enough. I don't see how you need another receiver. You have Lockett and Metcalf. You could throw whoever you want at wide receiver 3. I think just try to build up that defense.
Yep. Defense turns to offense, so I think that's what they do.
Fit your needs.
Yeah. Now the Chargers, a lot of questions for them in terms of their weapons with Austin Eckler, with Keenan Allen, with Mike Williams. I think they go wide receiver here, especially if Jackson Smith-Njigba's here. I think he's going to be here. I think the wide receivers kind of will get pushed back a bit in this year's draft, and I think that's the route they go here at 21. Yeah. Keenan Allen, I could see a world where him and Austin Eckler are not on the roster come week 1. I think they have to address that side of the ball, help out Herbert. They're in arguably the toughest division in football. I think they have to get a weapon.
Yeah, I agree. I could definitely see Eckler gone. I could see Keenan Allen gone. I think you got to address those needs, help out Herbert a little. And I see either JSN or I'm high on Addison. I think Addison's a great receiver. So either tough to say.
I think Addison goes right after.
I think we're nitpicking it.
I think the Ravens need a weapon. They absolutely need a weapon. We don't know the situation with Lamar. Apparently he's unhappy and he wants out, but we don't know. We don't have any proof of that. I think they have to get him something, whether it's him or someone else. They have to get him a weapon. I think they get Jordan Addison.
I agree. The Ravens are my team. I think we got a good defense. Hopefully Lamar stays, but regardless of who's at quarterback, I think you need a receiver. You can't be here with Devin Duvernay as your wide receiver 1 and want to be a contending team or at least contend in the AFC North. So I think you go out here and get Addison. You can make an argument for Zay Flowers out of Boston College, but the pick here for me is Addison.
Now the Vikings need help in the secondary. Deonte Banks is solid out of Maryland. He really is impressing me. He's gone way up from my personal draft board. I think the combine really helped him out, probably moved him from an early second-round pick to a mid to late first-round pick. I think they go Deonte Banks. They have to address that secondary. I think this is a perfect pick where you can do that.
I almost want to say a linebacker here.
They'd probably be reaching though on a linebacker.
It's tough because I don't see any prospects here that I love.
Trent Simpson is the best, I think, in this year's class. I think he's better than Drew Sanders. But, it's tough.
I love at linebacker. To me, that's a need for the Vikings.
Yeah.
But, I think that would be kind of reaching for what is that, 23rd?
23rd, yeah.
I don't see him going that high. So I think you grab yourself a corner and
now here at tight end at 24, I think the Jags could go tight end. Adding another weapon to Evan Ingram. That run game with ETN, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. I think they go Dalton Kincaid. They could run a lot of 2 tight end sets, really good 2 tight end sets. Doug Peterson's done that in the past in Philly when he had Ertz. He could really scheme up some good stuff there. I think it makes a lot of sense to go with a tight end here, especially with who's on the board at this point. I think it's certainly a possibility to double down at the tight end with already having Ingram. I think that would be a good pick. It's a good tight end class. Kincaid's a good pass catcher. I think that could make a lot of sense and help out the development of Trevor Lawrence. And now it's my New York Giants.
Yeah, well, just to add on that, Jacksonville pick, I think you have Ingram. I love that offense in Jacksonville. Now you have Calvin Ridley coming back. That only makes you better on that side of the ball. Evan Ingram, he'll be a great 2 behind him. Get some reps. I think that makes them probably one of the scariest offenses in the NFL. ETN at running back. I love their team. But onto the Giants.
The Giants, it's tough here because corner is such a big need for the Giants. They didn't address it in free agency. I'm not super high on Cam Smith. Kelly Ringo, I do like him out of Georgia. But if Zay Flowers is there, you could add another huge weapon. I think that's the route that the Giants take here.
That's what I was going to say. Either someone in the secondary or a receiver.
Yeah, and Torrance is a completely open option here. But I do think I do like Flowers a little bit better here. Personally, I think Flowers could kind of complete that wide receiving core, at least for now and for a long while. I think the Giants go Zay Flowers. I think in the second round, you'll see I'll have tons of content on the Giants specific, but then it's in the second, third, fourth round, it's corner and it's offensive line. But Zay Flowers, you can't really go wrong with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to give Daniel Jones some receivers here. You saw how many passes those guys were dropping last year. I don't need to say it. LA Sports knows it. So, get him some help on that side of the ball. On to the Cowboys.
The Cowboys, I think they're going to be heartbroken. Not only that Bijan Robinson's not there for them, but that he's within the division.
Yeah, if Bijan fell to, I'd be stunned. I know running backs don't go too high, but a prospect like that is not going to fall to the Cowboys.
I don't know what they would do here now, though. The wide receiver is not a need for them anymore. They're set in stone there. I could see, they have Gilmore. I don't really see a corner. Safety, Brian Branch is right there out of Alabama. I think that's a good pick for them there. He kind of fell. I don't know if he falls to 26, but he's definitely a good option there.
We're looking off of needs of these teams, right? So at the end of the day, is the draft going to go exactly like this? Probably not, but we're looking at what these teams needs. If I'm the Cowboys, I like your line. I like your receivers. I like your D-line. I like your corner. I think, pick the top safety, Brian Branch out of Alabama here. That's where I would go with this pick.
Now, to the Bills, I think if Torrance is there, I think they have to take him. It's their biggest need in the interior of that O-line. He's a solid player out of Florida. He's probably my favorite. And the best interior offensive lineman in this class, I think they go Torrance at 27.
Yeah, I agree. I see a world where Ezekiel Elliott is a Buffalo Bill. If you can stack on this O-line a little bit, you could revive him a little bit.
I think that's certainly possible.
I think you could revive his career a little bit. Play for a good team, the Bills. Beef up that O-line a bit. You have everything else you need. I'd go. Yeah, I agree with that pick.
Now, the Bengals, they could go a ton of directions. I think they go corner, though. They need help at corner. I think it's down to Cam Smith or Keely Ringo. I like Ringo better, but I think most teams do like Cam Smith a bit better. He was really hyped up.
Go Cam Smith.
He was really hyped up early, and I think that's where they go.
He's ranked pretty high here. I think they'll go Cam Smith, but Ringo's a good prospect out of Georgia. These Georgia guys, you can't go wrong here.
No. Let's say they go Cam Smith. Now for the Saints, they did lose Davenport. They've been losing a lot of pieces, to that defense. I think it's entirely possible that they go with the D lineman. I think that's a huge need for them. I think that's where they go Kalijah Kancey out of Pittsburgh. I think that's the pick there.
Yeah, I agree.
Now for the Eagles, It says their biggest need now is a corner. I don't see that. They just re-signed Darius Slay and Bradbury to somewhat long-term, mid-term deals. I don't think they go corner here. But where do they go at this point? They're so complete. I mean, maybe they just do add Ringo just to add to that secondary, beef it up. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They lost a lot of their safeties. Maybe they can groom him into a safety or move, Slay to a safety. Maybe they could get creative. Maybe they go corner.
I agree because I don't see.
They don't need O-line.
You have the best O-line in football.
Maybe if Torrance were here, maybe they go with that because Kelsey's going to leave and maybe they can move the puzzle
we're also
around.
Banking on them drafting Bijan here too. Like if you don't draft Bijan,
they don't. Then you can go
with another
Gibbs.
running back.
They could go with Gibbs
right?
out of Alabama, but
so
going with they're taking Robinson.
Let's assume they're taking Bijan.
Ringo.
I mean that's the only pick that makes somewhat sense.
Now for KC, they lost Orlando Brown. I think they could go tackle here, Anton Harrison or Darnell Wright.
Yeah,
I think
even receive
if they're getting OBJ.
There's still moves that need to be made, but I almost want to say receiver.
This is the last pick in the first round.
You lost Juju.
All right, so let's go Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Hyatt. Now, this pick isn't part of the first round. Technically is because the Dolphins had to forfeit their pick, but let's just pick someone else for the Steelers here. Emmanuel Forbes is solid.
Yeah, I mean.
Help out that secondary that lost Sutton.
Yeah.
Forbes. Let's go with Forbes. So that's our draft.
Let us know what you think.
Stroud, Young, Anderson, Richardson, Wilson, Gonzalez, Witherspoon, Jalen Carter, Paris Johnson, Bijan Robinson, Levis, Murphy, Skronsky, Johnston, Van Ness, Porter, Broderick Jones, Michael Mayer, Nolan Smith, Brian Breesy, JSN, Jordan Addison, Deontay Banks out of Maryland, Kincaid, Zay Flowers, Brian Branch, Torrance, Cam Smith, Yancey, Ringo, Hyatt, and Forbes. But you guys, let us know what you guys think about what you guys think about this draft, this mock draft. That's all we got today, though. Stay tuned for all the upcoming draft content. It's going to be big leading up to that. Giants, NFL wide, all that good stuff. Thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
And we will see you guys all in the next video, the next stream.